धन्यवाद खैर मकदम। अब जरा हम बात करेंगे कि ईरान की इस वक्त करंट सिचुएशन क्या है। अंदरूनी और बैरूनी शदीद दबाव का सामना है, खतरात भी हैं, और फिर हमने ये देखा कि गुज़िश्ता 15 साल में अगर 5-6 दफ़ा एहतजाज हो चुके हैं, तो ज़रा उसके रूट कॉज को भी ईरान को देखना होगा। फिर यह है जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन है वहाँ पर मोसाद के एजेंट्स की या बाकी जो इस तरह की जो ईरान को कमज़ोर करना चाहते हैं, तो उसकी वजूहात क्या हैं और ईरान उनके तोड़ के लिए क्या कर रहा है। तो इस पर ज़रा बात कर लेते हैं। हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं डॉक्टर नादिर हाशमी, और ये बेसिकली एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर हैं मिडिल ईस्ट एंड इस्लामिक पॉलिटिक्स के जॉर्ज टाउन यूनिवर्सिटी के। थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर नादिर हाशमी फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस। द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ सीरियस इज द रिस्क दैट करंट सिचुएशन in Iran can spill over to the neighboring countries?
Well, if there's an external military attack by the United States, which looked like it was imminent last week, but is receded, but Donald Trump is sending, American military assets to the Persian Gulf with the possibility of an attack, well then I think if there's and the Iranian government tries to respond, then it would have very big destabilizing effects across the entire Middle East and then into South Asia as well.
But knowing Iran and the history and the recent war that Iran had against Israel, it's quite important to know that Iran will respond. So despite tensions, escalation has remained limited so far. So what's going on in the background?
Well, what's going on in the background is on the Iranian side. They suffered a major threat to the future of the Islamic Republican system based on this domestic uprising that took place. Thousands of people have been killed. We don't know the full number, but the supreme leader in Iran has admitted thousands of people have been killed. On the American side, it looked like Donald Trump wanted to intervene, but then at the last moment he backed down. And we can't say with accuracy what Donald Trump is thinking. He's very unpredictable, but I suspect that the events of last week that suggested we were on the edge of a military confrontation between Iran and the United States could easily reproduce themselves, because the conditions that produced this crisis are still very much in place. Deep discontent in Iran, a disastrous economic situation that is not going to improve, and an unpredictable Donald Trump who's claiming openly that the Iranian system needs new leadership, that the people should take over the regime and the institutions of the state. And so, what we saw last week could easily happen again.
So what's your assessment? Do you think Donald Trump is taking his time, or the risk is over?
Well, I think Donald Trump, as you know, has a lot on his plate. He wants to invade and occupy Greenland. So that's the big news right now. But as we saw in terms of his policy toward Iran in his first term, he unpredictably assassinated in January 2000 Iran's top general in Baghdad, Qasem Soleimani, and he claimed that was a big victory. He bombed Iran's nuclear installations last June. He's surrounded by, in his foreign policy team, pro-Israel war hawks who believe that the United States should use military muscle to topple the Iranian regime. So that's what he's hearing all the time. And then he has this, Iranian sort of foreign opposition headed by the son of the late monarch, who is egging him on, claiming that, if Donald Trump attacks Iran, things will be wonderful. So, no one really knows, but I think this issue isn't going away. It's receded. If America sends more its aircraft carriers to the Persian Gulf and there's another domestic uprising, I can easily see, a war breaking out, because Donald Trump, thinks he's in the driver's seat. There's no one to stop him. So we have to wait and see.
So while keeping all those things that you mentioned in mind, how is Pakistan positioned in terms of border management and internal stability?
Well, there's been tensions, not too long ago, Iran struck on the Pakistani side of the border, going after separatist forces, and Pakistan responded by hitting Iran. That was, fairly recently. So tensions have been high over the border issues. Now they're much better. I don't think a military confrontation between the United States and Iran helps Pakistan's regional stability. I think it would lead to a major exodus of people from the border into Pakistan, fleeing for safety and security, which will put a huge, pressure on the Pakistani government to accept those refugees. But I think the state of relations right now are quite amicable and quite friendly. Of course, Pakistan is allied with the United States to a certain degree, and if war breaks out with Iran, Pakistan is going to find itself in the middle of its alliance with the United States and its neighborly relationship with Iran.
So, if the conditions inside Iran worsen, what humanitarian risks should the world prepare for?
Well, a major risk, because as we saw in the case of Syria after 2011, millions of people left Syria. In fact, more than half of Syria's population either fled Syria. 500,000 of them went into Europe. Millions of them went into Turkey, and internally, you had over half of the population that had been displaced. So if we're looking at that type of war in the context of Iran, Iran is a much bigger country, 90 million people. It's in many ways a very poor country because of both U.S. sanctions,
the restrictions, and
corruption.
Sanctions.
So if there's a war where the United States wants to take out the leadership in the way that Israel tried to assassinate the senior leadership in Iran last June, and then Iran responds, then we could see a destabilizing impact of an immense proportion that would produce a massive humanitarian crisis with people fleeing. Iran is surrounded by seven countries bordering, one of them being Pakistan. So it would have a huge destabilizing effect on the Middle East.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Nader Hashemi, for your time. प्रोग्राम से फिलहाल इतना ही। अशफाक इसाक सत्ती को इजाज़त दीजिए। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़ नासिर।